Hello and welcome to Lens and Pencil Studio. Today we are going to do photo editing. And by photo editing, I mean we'll try to make a photo more interesting, a photo with more character or mood of its own, and in all probability, make the photo more pleasing to the eye. For this process, we'll be using this app, Adobe Lightroom, as you can see in my screen. And this app is a freemium kind of app, which means most of the features of this app are free, although some features like spot healing and everything, those features are only available with subscription. But don't worry, the tools and features which I'm going to use now in this process, all the features are available both in iOS and in Android completely free. And although I'm using an iPad for this editing process, you can do this whole process in your mobile phone as well. So it's a very portable kind of photo editing which I'm going to do. Now, for this process, the first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off true tone and night shift, because if I don't do that, I'll not be able to see the colors properly. Okay, that's done. Now the next thing is I have to import a photo. For this, you have to click in this bottom right corner, this plus button here, and there are several options here, as you can see, from camera roll, from all photos, and then from files. We'll click in this from files and import this photo. Okay, the photo is imported. Now we'll click on this photo and we'll try to edit this. If you look at this photo carefully, you will see this photo is a very simple kind of photo with a one main subject and nothing else. The background is not at all interesting, the lighting is near terrible, and also even if you look at the subject itself, that is not something very photogenic, not something which you will like love to take a photo of. But I have deliberately chosen this photo. This is because I want to show you how we can turn an ordinary object into something extraordinary with just a bit of photo editing knowledge. Okay, so we'll start this editing process. The first thing which I like to do, that is, we will crop this photo. And why this is necessary? This is because if you look at this subject carefully, the subject looks a little bit slanted towards left and it is off centered, so we'll correct that. For this, click on this crop icon, this one, and next we will rotate this photo just a little bit. That's about right. And while cropping this photo, I'll like to mention one option here. This lock button below aspect, you can see the lock button. If you keep this button as locked, what this will do, this will maintain the aspect ratio of your photo. However you try to crop this photo, look at this, if I try to crop this photo, it is maintaining the aspect ratio of the photo. For the time being I have kept it in locked position, but now I will make it unlocked, because even now this photo is the subject is bit off centered, so we will try to correct that. Reduce just a bit from the left, so it becomes completely centered. That looks fine. Probably just a little bit more. Yeah, that's good. Okay, now when you are done with the cropping, click in this done button below right corner. Okay, now the next thing is you have to do with this option called light. Click on light. The first option is exposure. What this does is, if you increase this slider, that means if you move this button towards right, it will increase the amount of light available in the photo. If you reduce it, it will reduce the amount of light. So for this photo we will reduce the exposure just a bit. That's about right, I guess. Yeah, that's quite good. Now the question might arise, why I am reducing the exposure. This is because this will make the features of this photo more prominent. The next one is contrast. Now about this option, what this does is, increasing the contrast increases the difference between the light area and the dark area of the photo. Look at this difference. If I increase this, the shadows become more prominent. Now if you reduce this, the effect becomes opposite. So for this photo we will increase the contrast to bring up the details of the photo. That's quite good. Okay, next up is highlights. Question is, what is highlights? Now highlights are the areas of a photo which are prominently visible as the areas which got the maximum amount of light, and the areas which are almost looking as light is coming out of those areas. So those areas are basically highlights. As for example, you can see the top area where the light has been reflected from some kind of surface, or the area of this water and ice. This little white areas, those areas are highlights. So what we will do here, we will try to reduce the highlight a bit, because the top area is completely burnt almost. So we'll reduce the highlights. We have to reduce the highlight quite a bit, and we are reducing this because if we don't do this, the complete focus of the viewer will go towards this top highlight portion, which is not very desirable. Yeah, that's quite right. Now the next option is shadows. Reducing the slider, this increases the darkness of the shadows, and increasing this makes the shadows lighter. What we will do here, we will make the shadows a bit more darker. That's about right. Okay, now the next option is whites, and the next one is blacks. What these two options does, it is almost similar to contrast, you might say. Increasing the whites increases the amount of white in a photo, and increasing the blacks makes the blacks lighter, just like the shadows. And white is just like the highlights. It's quite, the effect is quite the same. So what we will do here, we will reduce the whites just a bit. That's about right. Yeah, that's good. And we will also reduce the blacks quite a bit. We will try to make the blacks more prominent. Okay, now our work in this section, this light section, is almost over. But there is another option like curve, this one. We will not discuss this area here in this video. because I want to keep this video quite simple for the beginners. If you want a different video on this topic, I'll cover that in some other video. We'll move on to the next topic, that is color. Now, in this area as well, we'll only deal with temperature, tint, vibrance, and saturation. Only these four options, not everything. The first one is temperature. What this does, you can see from this slider as well. Increasing this slider towards right, it increases the amount of yellow color in the photo. It makes the photo more warm. Or if you reduce it or move the slider towards left, it makes the photo more bluish or more cold. What we will do here, we will try to make this photo a bit warm. Yeah, that's quite good. And while we are in this section, this color section, let me discuss just a bit about the mood of a photograph. It is basically the way photo interact with a viewer. I mean, if you look at a photo, look at this photo, and if you find a lot of gray color, lot of dark blue, or lot of even dark shadows, what this photo conveys, it is almost like something gloomy. But in this photo, what I'm trying to do, it is I'm trying to make a happy and jolly kind of mood to this photo. So for this reason, I'm giving it the color required for that kind of mood, so I'm increasing the temperature. Next up, the option is tint. What this option does, it is, if you increase this, it makes the photo more pinkish, and if you reduce this, that means moving the slider towards left, it makes the photo more greenish. So what we will do, we will increase the slider just a bit. Okay, that's quite good. The next two options, vibrance and saturation, the effect of these two options are almost same, but there is some little bit of difference. The basic function of these two sliders are, it makes the colors more punchy, more bright. So we will increase both vibrance and saturation. Okay, we are increasing vibrance, that's quite good, and saturation as well. Okay, now this section is over, our work in this color section is over. There are some options like black and white, and this color mixing options. We will not do color mixing for this photo. uh, we can do this in some other more advanced kind of photo editing. Now we will just keep it like this. The next option is effects. In this area, effects, we'll only deal with three options: texture, clarity, and dehaze. And another option we will deal with is vignette. And about this texture option, we will not be using this option for this photo, we'll just show it. What this does, if you increase this slider towards right, it increases the amount of grains in the photo. If you zoom in, just look at this. When you increase this, it increases the amount of grain. When you decrease this, it makes the photo more smooth. So that's the purpose of this slider. I think increasing this slider just a bit. Initially thought about not using this option, but let's increase this texture just a bit to make the features more prominent. Okay, that's quite good. Now the next option is clarity. What this does, if you increase clarity, the photo becomes more detailed. So we will increase this clarity. Let's increase that. That's quite good. The next one is dehaze. Now dehaze is an option which makes the photo more clear. So we will increase this dehaze option. That's quite good. The next option is vignette. Now what this option does, it is, if you increase this vignette, it makes the edge, or you might say the edges of the photograph, whitish, or it looks like that photograph is fading into the edges. If you reduce that, the edges becomes darker, and it looks like the light has been put only into the central area of the photograph, midpoint, roundness, feather, those things. I'm keeping this as it is. We might be discussing all these things in some different video. If you want that video, please leave a comment in the comment section. For this photo we will be reducing the vignette option a bit. Let's make it a bit more. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, now it looks quite good. The next option is detail. We will deal with sharpening and detail and noise reduction. What sharpening does, it is, if you increase it, it makes the photo more detailed, more sharp. You can see here. So we'll keep this sharpening in about 40. That's quite good. Yeah, 39, that's fine. The next one is detail. Detail is almost similar. It enhances the details in the photograph. We'll increase that. 50 would be a good number for the details. And the next one is noise reduction. We'll try to reduce the noise in this photograph. So we will increase this slider, not much, just a bit. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, with this we come to an end of our basic kind of photo editing. Now what we have done here, if you tap on the screen with a finger, you can see the previous photograph and what we have achieved. So what we have done here, we have turned a very mundane, very simple kind of photograph, this one, into this one, which has a mood, a character, a story of its own. You can even use this photo as in some kind of catalog for food and beverages. That was our goal of turning a very ordinary, very simple kind of photograph into something very interesting. So with this we are ending this video, and let's hope you have found this video to be informative, and would be this would be helpful for you to edit some photo which you might be looking forward for editing. And to all my friends who have asked me many times how do I edit my photos, so this is the answer. This is a basic kind of editing. There are other options as well, so we'll be covering those options in some other video, but for now we'll close this video here. So goodbye, take care.